Hey guys, welcome back to the No Bull Broker. I am your host, Jonathan Lickstein. On the No Bull Broker, we speak with producers and professionals in the real estate industry because we are more than just people who show you pretty houses, sell you homes. We are humans, we are people, we have passions, we have hobbies, we have families. There's so much more than just buying and selling homes. So today, the professional and producer I have with me is Leslie Suarez from eXp Realty. Welcome, Leslie.
Hello, hello, hello.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we go way back. So,
way back.
Right?
My brother from another mother.
So we met in 2018 for the first time, and we began this beautiful journey called the Leadership Academy in Palm Beach County, Broward, Palm Beach, and Saint Lucie County, with a group of, how many were in our class?
I think 15 to 18 people.
15 to 18, right? It might have started 18, got to 15, maybe gone back to 16. We don't know. But there was a group of people, and out of all of the group, there's a collection that stayed together and stayed connected and continue to go down that leadership path, who we've gotten even tighter with, and you are one of those people for me.
Yes, I'm so thankful for Leadership Academy because of the fact that we have a forever friendship.
For sure. We lived, half a mile from each other and didn't even know each other?
Yeah.
And there we go. And that's Leadership Academy did that. And getting involved in your industry helps you make these relationships like that.
Absolutely.
So let's start off. This is our first morning recording.
Okay.
So welcome to the morning recording. Cheers, coffee. Thank you very much.
Come bearing caffeine always.
Can't go wrong with a little bit of caffeine, right?
Never.
What's your go-to coffee drink to get caffeinated and ready for your clients?
Other than straight espresso, which is my favorite, I will take espresso shots morning, noon, or night. But for the most part, it's just a nice coffee, cream and sugar, extra shot of espresso.
Extra, so extra caffeine.
Yes.
So that you can handle and overcome whatever obstacle that comes your way.
I'm exhausted every single day.
Well, that's something I would expect from you. And I didn't tell you we were going to go into this, but we're going to go into this a little bit. So you, out of all people, exhaustion at the end of a day. Talk to me about how you unwind, and then let's talk about why you're so tired.
Okay. So how I unwind at the end of the day, I actually like background noise and to just be doing things around my house. So typically I turn on a TV show that I pay absolutely no attention to, but I just need that noise. And so normally it's turning onto a TV show. I burn through series and have no idea what happened in the series, but at the same time I just keep going. And so that's typically my unwind. I have kids and dogs. So it's always a little bit of a full house, but if I can spend 10 minutes of quiet time, yes, quiet time does mean noise in the background like TV, it really definitely kind of soothes my mind at the end of the day.
So you mentioned kids, dogs. I know you have a lot of time that you volunteer for organizations in your local community, and we're going to dive into that. But between the kids, the dogs, the volunteerism professionally, the volunteerism for your community and groups that you feel passionate about, how do you have time? How do you manage the balance between work and family and giving back?
Calendar blocking. I know that you guys have heard it before on this podcast because I've listened to the recordings that you've done so far, but I live by my calendar. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't happen. Literally from going for a run to going to the grocery store. It sounds crazy, but those things end up on my calendar. Otherwise, the day passes by and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't get milk for my kids. So everything kind of has to be scheduled for me. And I typically look at my calendar every night for the next day. But then also I wake up and before I even get out of bed, I open up my calendar and double check what I'm doing that day and kind of psych myself up that way.
It's at least once a week where I wake up. I do the same thing. I look at the calendar and I have to change my clothes based on what I have coming that day because I dress down.
That's why I look at my calendar before I even get out of bed.
There you go. That way you don't have to change, but you're getting ready. So there are three major issues hitting our industry right now. I'm going to call it the three big I's: inventory, inflation, and interest rates.
Yes.
How are you overcoming that to continue to do business with what you're doing right now?
I can throw a fourth I in there too.
Let's hear it.
Insurance.
Insurance. You're absolutely right.
All of those things definitely combat things. I'm lucky that I have built a huge career out of real estate where it's not just buying and selling homes and making commission. My commission is kind of my play money, but yeah, it's tough. And so I do have a team of agents that I work with, and I'm a licensed and certified mentor. So I make money even when I'm not buying or selling. But with the things that are going on, I'm fortunate that we have a good amount of cash buyers that are still coming down from the northern states. So that kind of alleviates the interest rate thing, but that's slowed down a little bit. Insurance is a huge problem that we haven't mentioned it yet, but I was chair for the RPAC, which is Realtors Political Action Committee, for Broward, Palm Beaches, and Saint Lucie Realtors, and that's been a really great learning experience for me. But yeah, insurance is something that we're going to have to continue to fight and work on in Florida. 76% of the country's litigation is here in this one state out of all 50 states. So
welcome to Florida.
Yes, definitely a little bit of an issue. I actually met a litigator for an insurance company the other day and was like, oh, you guys do exist. I know that there's a lot of that going on, but this is the first time I met one. But insurance is something that is hurting us, but in a small way, it's also creating more inventory because of the fact that some people are really struggling to afford to pay their bills, and so they're having to move and make changes. So inventory-wise, things are slow, but if you're patient, something always does pop up. We've got things that are being built, and I've actually been really surprised that inventory isn't as much of an issue right now. Like everybody that I'm showing homes to, I have more than 2 things to show them finally again, which is nice. And you're seeing things sit on the market for a little bit longer than they were a couple months ago. And honestly, I forgot your first I.
Okay. Inflation.
Oh, inflation. That's a fun one.
I feel like they all kind of go hand in hand. And as the market shifts, there's still transactions that are going to happen. And you have people from the public who will walk up to you and say, what's their first question, right? It's how's the market? And they somewhat feel bad because of the perception that the public is getting through the news channels and broadcasts and videos, etc., with all this doom and gloom about real estate. But the way I feel is no matter if it's up or down, there's always people buying and selling. Just the question is at what price?
Right. And the prices are still higher right now. We're 23% higher as far as home sale prices. So it's still a seller's market. We're not crashing. We're not doomed. Things, like I said, they're sitting on the market for a little bit longer, but whether you're buying or selling, right now is a great time as long as you get the deal that you need and you have a great realtor to represent you.
I feel like it's always a good time to buy or sell, regardless. There's a circumstance that is positive for every person. And finding the right person who can help you navigate those challenges is the key to making that a good time to purchase or sell and/or. Right?
Absolutely.
So going back to your schedule and your time blocking, right? It's important to stay on point or you get to the end of the day with nothing done. How does your routine, your structure, your blocking translate into kind of who you are as an agent and who you've become as a businesswoman?
I wish that I had a better routine. I will tell you guys, that's something that I lack on, although I live by my calendar, but I wish that I woke up and I had like my 30 minutes where I did the exact same thing every single day. Really, the only thing that's consistent about me is that I check my calendar, and then that even changes throughout the day. But yeah, I keep myself as busy as possible because I've got a lot going on, you know. My 2 kids, you know, I'm a classroom mom, which I totally did not mean to sign up for, but that's another way that I'm stuck in the community.
You were voluntold.
I was voluntold, like a lot of things. But yeah, I do the best that I can. And honestly, there's a daily feeling of the fact like, man, I'm failing. I'm not doing good enough. But I actually just watched a video last night that says at the moments that you feel like you can't do it anymore, you have to remember that you are doing it. And so there are a lot of times where I'm like, man, I can't do this. And then I'm like, wait, but I am.
You're very much like me where you want to see results and feel the progression as you're going through things. And that's been something hard for me to overcome, especially in this industry where things happen in small increments and baby steps, which get you to the ultimate end of the road, right? So it's taken a lot to step back and still feel like you're accomplishing something, even if you're actually not in the moment. In the bigger picture, you are.
Absolutely. I can understand that one too. Like, I do believe that one of the secrets to happiness is progress. You know, seeing some sort of progress, whether it's really small, like, hey, I got this one thing done off my checklist, which I think checklists are important because they help you get things done, but it also gives you that value of feeling like, hey, I got something done.
So your checklist, is it paper? Are you on your phone? Is it computer? What's your go-to way to keep track of getting your stuff done?
So I do have reminders in my phone. Rely heavily on those, but on days that I'm struggling and having like a super stressful day, there's nothing like writing out your checklist, writing it down, leaving a little dash at the end for that check mark for when you finish it. But to me, that's probably what gives me the most satisfaction is when I actually write out that list.
And then you're able to cross things out or check them off and find that sense of accomplishment as you're getting through and knocking things out of that list.
And something on that list could be just brushing my teeth, but heck, doing that check mark on that
That's one item down.
You know, I'm like, hey, I'm moving in the right direction today.
Did you check that box this morning?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Can't you smell it?
It's the coffee coming this way, I guess. And going both, it might come stronger a little bit that way.
So, I promise I showered. I promise. I curled my hair. You guys can't see it, but I curled my hair. And I got ready for you guys. Although I'm wearing ripped jeans, which is very unlike me.
They're holy. We'll go with holy jeans.
Yes. It's not Sunday, though.
So that's okay. It's another one of our faithful days. So you weren't the person you are today when you first got into the industry. How long have you been in real estate?
So I've been in real estate now for 9 years. Prior to real estate, so from the age of 18 to 26, 27, I was actually the district manager for a pretty big corporation, and I managed a team of young sales girls. And so that actually prepared me for real estate quite a bit because there was a lot of drama, and it was about like cutting out the drama before it got bigger, handling the things that you need to handle. So I feel like that job actually prepared me really, really well. I had an amazing mentor. The owner of the company is still a huge part of my life. He later turned into one of my business partners, and so I'm really thankful for the guidance that I got at such a young age. On my 20th birthday, I was promoted to a district manager. So I've worked quickly, you know, and I think that's one of the harder things now about being in my 30s is that I accomplished so much by the time that I was 25, you know, like had a great career, was married, had my first child, had bought a house. Like The
20s were exciting.
Really exciting. And the 30s have been just as exciting, you know, not necessarily all positive things, but I've had to learn to live life on life's terms, and that I can't necessarily be in control of everything, but at the same time, I can deal with everything and I can handle everything.
There's nothing that life will throw at you that you can't handle. There's always
sometimes it feels like it does, though.
It can feel that way, but you look at you now. You're still here.
Yep.
You're still fighting. You're still positive. You're happy. You're smiling, and you're doing well in business. It's no matter what life throws at you, you're going to get through it. You're going to push through, and you're going to be great.
I typically always have a smile on my face. You know, like I'm one of those people that really does like fake it till you make it as far as a smile goes. I'm big on being positive even on a tough day, and like. I'll start it off by the fact that when I started my 30s, I got diagnosed with cancer right away. And I had 2 young kids, and it wasn't exactly what I had planned. And then I went through a divorce. So those are some really, really tough things. But the great thing is that I had built great relationships with my clients. I had already been in real estate at that point. I had an amazing family with my Our World family. And I had people that were there for me on a regular basis. And so, like, it does take a village to be successful. You can't always do it all on your own.
Something I got out of Leadership Academy was a lot of self-reflection. It was looking back at our past, even your childhood, before you knew you were making decisions that had a ripple effect throughout the rest of your life. Do you feel that each of those life experiences that you've gone through in your 20s, in your 30s, have contributed to a better way for you to connect with clients and customers? Or is there one that sticks out to you that really gave you a different perspective and allowed you to connect with people in a different way?
I definitely believe everything that you just said. I'm in complete agreement. I grew up in a hotel as a kid, so I feel like that's given me a really good business mind. You know, I literally lived where my dad worked. I spent most of my childhood sitting in a business office. And so I think that like gave me this business mind from a really, really young age. It also told me like when I can be silly and when I have to be serious, because even as a little kid, like you couldn't go in the elevator and press every single button, otherwise security was coming and knocking on my door.
I love doing that. No,
I love to do it as a kid. I thought that was the best prank ever as a little kid. That and turning around the do not disturb signs. Like literally that was my playground. So
running down the hallway, taking the do not disturb signs off of the doors, is that what you're talking about?
No, I would actually turn them around so it said clean my room first.
Oh.
So that they definitely got disturbed. I'm sorry for anybody that stayed at the Sheraton Wardman Park until 1996 when I moved to Arizona. But yes, that was the excitement of my childhood. But at the same time, like, I think that it's weird. Like, I bring my kids to work with me all the time, and people are like, oh, don't you want to get a babysitter or something? I'm like, no, I grew up going to work with my dad, and it's made me the successful person that I am.
I completely agree. You're giving your kids a unique perspective to see you in a light that they don't normally see you. I do the same thing. I bring my kids here all the time. I usually pawn them off on somebody to babysit them, or they choose to go that direction. But either way, exposing them to an outside world that they wouldn't normally see as kids helps them develop and see social interaction in a different way.
And I think it makes my kids appreciate me.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, they definitely have my kids, I have 2 little boys, they're 8 and 10 years old, but they have a huge appreciation for how hard I work. Even just yesterday, we were visiting my sister. My sister asked, like, who works harder in your house, mommy or daddy? You know, and it's 2 different houses now. And it's a controversial topic, but both of my kids unanimously said, Mommy works so hard. We see her work all the time.
And that's part of that point of you bringing them.
Yep, they get to see what I do, and I think it gives them a huge level of respect because I'm not just mommy, but I'm a mommy that works really hard.
I'm not going to go too deep on that.
Okay.
But them seeing you in that light is creating an expectation of how someone should be as they grow. And what
I
they
want
should
my
expect
children
out
to
of
be
someone.
successful. I don't care what they do, but I want them to know that it takes hard work to be successful.
So going back in your history, we talked about you grew up in a hotel. Okay. You like to play pranks on people with their do not disturb sign.
I still like to play pranks on people.
You have told me about setting a fire in the hotel.
Yes, I was looking at the Washington Monument, and the housekeepers were not supposed to leave matches in our room, and one time they did. And so I sat on the bathroom rug staring at the Washington Monument, and I was playing with lighting matches, and the rug caught on fire, and it was a very big deal. So I learned not to play with matches.
So coming through all those ranks and being a single mother, well, I'm sorry, you have a boyfriend, not. Well,
But I'm a
somewhat.
single mom,
We'll
you
call
know.
that. So you're a single mom, running a very busy business that can be quite demanding. What is some advice that you can go or you can give to someone else who's in the same shoes, a single mother who's trying to get started in real estate, or someone who's gone through a huge life change and they kind of feel overwhelmed in one of those moments where you feel like life threw too much at you? What advice can you give that person that could be listening right now?
So the hardest lesson was learning how to ask for help, because I've always been somebody that can do everything by herself. I'm a powerhouse. I'm a take the reins kind of girl, a leadership girl. And there have been times, especially over the past few years, between getting sick, getting divorced, running a business, and all of the other things that have kind of come along my journey. But I've had to learn to ask for help. And even from my own family, it's been really hard for me to ask for help. But even when I couldn't ask for help, they showed up. And again, like the president of Florida Realtors, she did a speech a couple years ago where she talked about that she needs a village, you know, to be able to do everything that she does.
Christine?
Christina Pappas, yeah. And she talks about the fact that she has a village because she has a young child and she travels a lot and it takes a lot of help. And so with all of my responsibilities with the association, I do travel more and more and more every single year. And so that takes me having good babysitters. And I don't have family locally, which I think makes it a lot more difficult to make all of the logistics work. Mm-hmm. But I do. I have to ask for help. I have to ask for family members to come into town and watch my kids on days that I have to be gone. That's not easy for me. Asking for help around the house because I always had somebody around, you know. My ex was pretty much a stay-at-home dad, and so I always had somebody to help do those things, and I think I kind of took that for granted in all honesty, but now I actually have to ask people to come and help me do stuff, which I don't like because I'm pretty good with a power drill, but I'm still kind of weak. So
I can picture you with the hard hat, the tool belt, you know, going on the ladder with the drill.
I'm pretty cool. I did an awesome job at the Habitat for Humanity. I'm actually really happy our association did a Habitat for Humanity build, and me and another little tiny blonde named Gina, we went down one side of the house and the 2 biggest guys went down the other side of the house and we kicked their butts. Like, we put up that fat fascia is so much better. So girls can do just about everything if you put your mind to it, but for people that are just getting started out, ask for help, whether it's physical help, like somebody coming to help you, or asking the questions. When I first got into real estate, my broker was kind of one of those jerk brokers that every time I asked him about something, he was like, "Didn't you learn that in real estate school?" Ugh. And I was like, "No, I learned how to stay out of real estate jail. I did not know how to write a contract. I didn't know how to do those things." So I will say the first year and a half in real estate, I cried my way through most of my deals.
Hey Siri, stop telling agents to remember what they learned in school.
Yes, please don't do that. Real estate school does not prepare you to be a successful realtor. You know, it teaches you the laws, but other than that, it doesn't really teach you like what your day-to-day should be. So I remembered I felt so uncomfortable, but I'd call agents, that people that I knew were realtors from prior to me getting my real estate license, and I'd say, oh my God, I have this thing that's going on and I don't know how to deal with it. And people were so pleased and excited to help me that in the beginning I would feel bad. I was like, oh, I shouldn't be asking people for help. I'm their competition.
It's kind of funny. In real estate, it's a very individualized industry. I mean, you can be part of a company. I mean, your company's massive. What, 75,000 agents?
87,000 now.
Okay. You have a company of 87,000 agents, but yet you still can feel like you're kind of alone. And in this kind of an industry where you can feel alone, it's incredible about how collaborative other agents are and how willing they are to help and pitch in and just bring the bar up to a higher level and raise the average.
Yep.
And regardless of circumstances, they're learning through your experiences, you're learning from theirs, and together we're all better.
But it's funny how as a new agent you feel stupid having to ask people questions, but in all reality, like, these people were so eager to help me. And now when people call me and say, hey Leslie, I don't know what to do, it literally puts the biggest smile on my face. It makes me so happy to be able to return that to somebody else, because I probably wouldn't have stayed in real estate if there weren't people that I could call and ask questions to.
Yeah.
And so it gives me a lot of pride. Like, look at where I've come from. I used to be somebody that would like cry over a deal, and now I get to be somebody that calms somebody else that's crying.
It's consultants in a different light. We become psychiatrists at the same time.
Yep.
For each other as well as our customers and clients. So with your rising through the ranks and getting more involved with the local association, I'm excited next year we'll be working together.
Me too.
But with your involvement and being able to reach out and have this village of your Our World family that you can reach out to, or just have somebody to talk to, what do you feel is the biggest reward? We don't go in expecting something back, but going in, these intangible benefits, these intangible perks, what do you feel is the biggest intangible perk that you've received back from really just your willingness to be involved?
It's exactly kind of what I just said about like having somebody. I'm so happy that I can prevent somebody else from going through a year and a half of real estate feeling alone. You know, like, that's how my real estate career started until I went to a different brokerage, and then I got involved at the board. And those two things really helped me, because all of a sudden I did have that village that I'm talking about. But for me, like, the most rewarding thing ever is knowing that I can save somebody else from agony. So I love doing new member orientations and telling people, this is my cell phone number. Text me. I always have it. If you have a question, you're not alone. I'm here to help. So
We're a community. We're a family.
yes, we are. And you guys showed up big time for me in really hard times.
So lessons learned along the way. You've become more of the businesswoman that you are now, but you didn't always have it figured out. So let's talk about that first year and a half. What made you do something so crazy as getting into real estate? Somebody or something caused you to go take that class.
So my now ex-husband, at the time we were married, and we had been together for a really long time, since I was 18 years old. He was doing advertising for a mortgage company. And he was like, the mortgage company also has a sister company that does real estate, and they don't have any local realtors. There are just out-of-state realtors. You should get licensed, because then you can take the commissions. Like, I was making peanuts. It was a great salary for somebody that was my age, but at the same time, peanuts in comparison to what I can make in real estate. And he's like, why don't you switch it up? So I went and got my real estate license. Hugely pregnant, which was awkward because I was the only pregnant person in that 63-hour course.
Not just pregnant, hugely pregnant.
Very, very, very pregnant. And I passed my real estate test just a couple weeks right before my second son was born. And so I did hang my license with that joint venture of a mortgage company and real estate company. And I quickly learned that the broker really had never sold something in his life. And I think that that's why he would tell me, like, didn't you learn that in real estate school? Because he probably didn't know the answer. And so then I actually was thinking about getting out of real estate, and I called my best friend. She was the maid of honor in my wedding, and I called her. I said, I'm miserable in real estate. And she had her real estate license, and we had worked together for 8 years with Segler Enterprises, which is my previous job prior to real estate. And she said, give me 3 months. And I was like, no, I'm done. Like, I'm really not happy. I'm not enjoying this. I thought that this was going to be so much more fun. And she's like, will you please give me 3 months? I'm joining this new company. And so sure enough, she told me about EXP. And so I said, I'll give you 3 months. And it's been 8 years. But I'm really thankful that she asked me to give her 3 months. She knew that real estate would be good for me if I just had the right home.
You must have had a lot of faith in her as a friend. You call
A
a friend
ton.
and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this," and just to have blind faith to say, "Wait 3 months," and you reacted and stayed that 3 months waiting for that to happen. You have a tremendous amount of faith in her.
Her and I would work together for 8 years, and she had really been one of my mentors when I was a district manager. So I trusted her business mind. I knew that she was smart. I knew she was excellent at everything she did. And so I actually signed up with the brokerage that I'm with now, and I was the very first agent in our MLS, which was a huge leap of faith because nobody had ever heard of the brokerage before, so everybody thought I was kind of crazy. But being the first one and the only one in this MLS, I realized that I still had the same issue where although I could jump in and go to a virtual office and have lots of people around in that way, locally I was the only one. And I wanted to know more people. I wanted to build that village, even though I didn't even know that that's what I was trying to do. And so I got involved in the board. So I'm actually really thankful that I was the first person with my brokerage because it made me seek outside avenues of building relationships.
There was no expectation. There was nothing like that. You jumped in 2 feet and said, I'm trying this. I've got faith with her. And yeah, I'm the first one, but it doesn't matter. I'm the one, period.
Yeah.
And jumped right in out of, at that time, probably around 20,000, 25,000 members. You were the one.
Yes.
That's very interesting.
It was a little intimidating.
It can be. I mean, anytime you're in a marketplace, especially like where we are in South Florida, you know, in our one MLS now, it's over 40,000 members, and you've got another association with over 55,000 members. You know, that's 100,000 people approximately right there that are quote unquote direct competition, but aren't direct competition at the same time. There's so much individuality that goes into everybody's business that you and who you are and who you've become are your business. And no one could ever replicate that because you are you. You're Leslie Suarez.
Wow, bang on the table.
Got to. Emphasis.
No, I'm definitely a unique one, you know? And I take pride in that. I used to always want to be perfect and want to be this and want to be that and like this picturesque. And I've actually taken a lot of joy in the fact that I am far from perfect. I do make mistakes. I take risks, but calculated risks. I'm a big time thinker. I calculate and debate everything in my head prior to doing anything.
I feel like when you jump in, you're jumping in with a certain amount of faith. You're jumping in with confidence in yourself and faith that just everything's going to work out one way or the other.
I know it will because I'll make it work out.
Absolutely. So with faith in things that you do, are there any transactions or deals where you've jumped in and thought, well, I really don't have a whole lot of faith in this actually coming through, but I'm going to do it anyways and let's see where it goes. So,
well, I'll take you into my most interesting real estate story that 9 years in the business, and this was by far, I did not think I was going to get this to the closing table. I didn't think so. My clients didn't think so. We had all kind of lost faith about halfway through this process, but I got a referral from a lender. He called me up one day and he was like, "Hey, Leslie, I have these buyers that are pre-approved for $1.3 million. Do you want the deal?" I was like, "Heck yeah. Where are they looking to buy?" And so I still haven't met these clients in person. I have a big virtual business, so I do show property virtually. I do closings virtually. So I'm able to, I have a lot of clients that I've never met before, which is kind of strange for realtors, but it works really well. And so I showed them a couple properties by FaceTiming them, and actually it was WhatsApp video because they travel internationally a lot, so they were out of the country at the time.
Was this during COVID or pre-COVID?
This is after COVID.
So virtual became kind of more normalized.
Yes. Okay. COVID made virtual a big thing for me, and I do have a lot of buyers that come from up north, so they'll still be up north, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'll arrange a ticket so I can come look at property." And I'm like, "You don't need to do that." I do the virtual showing, and then after the virtual showing, I record the whole property, and I send that to them so that they have something to look back on. But it works really, really well. I'd say 9 out of 10 closings this year have been sight unseen.
That's crazy.
Where my clients close on a property.
I didn't mean to pull you away. I'm sorry. Going back. So you haven't met these customers before?
Never met them before, and they told me that they were married,
okay,
and they owned a business together that they had owned for a long time. And so I show them properties virtually. They find one that they absolutely love. They had a couple qualifications that they really wanted in a house. We found one that met all of those. They were super excited in a time that inventory was really, really limited. So they were very pleased. And we get under contract. We negotiate the price down a lot at a time where houses were selling way over asking. We actually got it way under asking. So it was a great deal. I was so excited. I was like tapping myself on the back being like, yeah, you got this. And then the bomb dropped. And the title company called me about a week and a half before closing and said, your clients are married. And I was like, yeah, they're married to each other. No, Leslie, they're each married to other people in other states. And I was like, oh, okay. So I call my clients and I was like, I'm sorry for misunderstanding. I kind of thought that you guys were married to each other. They were like, no, we own a business together, but we both have our own spouses, and the spouses don't know that we're buying this property in Florida. And so that was like, okay, well, your spouses are going to have to sign off on the closing documents. And immediately they were like, nope, pull us out. We had already passed the financing contingency. We had already gotten the cleared close. Like, there was no way that they were going to get their escrow.
Significant deposit down, I assume.
$100,000.
Okay.
So at this point, they were deciding that they were going to lose the $100,000 rather than tell their spouses. And so it was very uncomfortable. But we sat down and we talked it out, and we found out some ways of approaching their spouses. So again, like a therapist. And we got delayed, and then we finally got the signing scheduled like 2 weeks later, because now we had to redo the financing because of the fact that their spouses, we were all under these false pretenses that they were married to each other. And let me tell you, if you're buying a house in another state and it's financed, you still have to tell your spouse about it. Sorry, guys. Sorry if I'm bursting any bubbles, but this love shack was not going to be a secretive love shack anymore. And so...
Lessons learned. Should have bought cash.
Yeah. Seriously. And so we did get closed, but it was hard because, like, even the day that we had scheduled the closing, we had put more money down on the table. We had tried to keep the sellers enticed, like, not to back out of this offer because they had backup offers. And ones that were even higher than what I had negotiated them down to. So, like, the sellers were fine with dropping this deal. My buyers were fine with dropping this deal.
This is in a time where the seller could walk away with that $100,000. The buyers would have been okay because they didn't want to open the can of worms. And there was another buyer standing right by. I mean, this dog-eat-dog market that we were in.
Yes. And I have to give a huge thank you to the agent that was on the other side. I built a great relationship with her and was able to disclose things that I was allowed to disclose to make sure that she could have some sort of understanding to keep the deal alive. And also a huge thank you to the title company, because the title company really had a lot of patience. And the title company had been in business for 30 years. And after we closed that deal, they said to me, they were like, I thought there was no way in hell that we were going to close this transaction. In my 30 years of business, I've never had something so crazy.
It sounds like you were able to disclose while your clients wanted to declothe.
Yes. But it was a very uncomfortable, and literally we had to do 3 extensions because their spouses said, okay, we'll come sign. And then they found out more information about why they were buying the house, and then they backed out. Okay, we'll come sign, backed out. So I literally held my breath for 3 weeks. I think I lost a good 10 pounds from stress.
Sometimes that can be a desired outcome.
Yeah, I didn't need to at the time.
As you just mentioned, these relationships, the lender, the title company that help you navigate, the other agent on the other side that helped you navigate, it's so important to have these trusted partners that you can work with along the way. Do you find that you are always referring to the same lender, the same title company, and you're working with agents that you happen to know through your involvement at the association, the local association, et cetera?
I feel really thankful that I have the reputation of being a closer and the reputation of like being a people pleaser and somebody that's enjoyable to work with, because it wouldn't have happened without everybody being patient and having a little bit of faith. But I do refer out the majority of my business. Like, I always give people a couple names, but I do have people that I work with more than others because of the fact that we have a great relationship, and I have a lot of trust in the fact that they get this to the closing table and they make it happen. and that they make it easier for my clients, because our job is to not only close the transaction but also make it smooth. They say the 3 most stressful things in life are death, divorce, and moving. So I try to make that third one as easy as possible for them, and sometimes they're going through those other things as well. Like, people kind of laugh at this, but I love selling somebody's house that's passed away because I like making it easier for their kids that might live in other states.
In a really stressful, sorrow-filled time of their life, you're contributing to that path, that pattern, that experience.
And I truly do get joy from being helpful. I found, like, some people get joy from making a lot of money or doing X, Y, and Z. For me, when I feel like I've helped somebody, is truly what makes me the happiest.
Now, you've built that reputation yourself. You've gone through and you're at that point now. How can you build a reputation of being the people pleaser, being the person who gets it done? How can you build that reputation for somebody who's newer in the business?
Get involved. Make the connections. Like Jonathan and I are both involved in leadership. So like we have a lot of friends, and I find that the people that like donate or volunteer their time to the association are people that really do care. It's not just about making money. So I found that those are my people. Like, not all realtors are great. I really love most realtors, but not all realtors are great. But chances are the not so great ones aren't the ones that are volunteering their time.
This is true. I always say that what's the hardest part of a real estate transaction? The other agent.
Yes.
But when you get
or it can be the easiest part too.
Very well could be. It just depends on who's on the other side.
Yeah.
But much like that, getting involved. So what I love most about the involvement at the association is, as we said before, when you're outside in this individualized industry, you're competition. They're still willing to help, but they're your direct competition. But when you go into the association, the competition goes away. The branding of the company goes away. You become 2 professionals that are trying to accomplish something bigger. And that's where relationships are built.
I totally agree.
And I think that's your passion for this that helps make you so unique. So your brand is unique. Leslie Suarez is unique. Single mom, businesswoman, juggler of many tasks, too many to juggle, but makes it work. Why is your brand so unique? And was that something that evolved, or did you come in thinking, this is how I want to brand myself?
So I've always worked like with a small brokerage. My first brokerage was like this little tiny boutique brokerage that nobody had ever heard of. So I've never had the need to hang my license with like this big company. Now the company that I'm with is huge, but that wasn't necessarily my intention. So I've always branded myself as like, this is me. You either want to work with me or you don't. It doesn't matter where I hang my license. It doesn't matter any of that stuff. As long as I have the knowledge and the resources to get that done, then that's the way that I want to be. But no, like I don't know exactly how I branded myself other than the fact that I've donated so much of my time to the association and outside things. Like I fostered over 300 dogs in my own house over the years. At
the same time?
No,
okay.
Fortunately, like 10 or 12 at a time almost.
That's 10 or 12 is still quite a few.
Oh my gosh, yes. And so like doing real estate all day, I have so many Facebook memories that pop up where I'm like in a business dress, and I used to do those time-lapse videos where I'd come home to my puppy room, like literally had a room in my house that was the puppy room. And I'd come home and do the time-lapse video, and you just see me in my full work clothes, name tag still on, rolling up paper, rolling out new paper, transferring puppies from one bin to another, but I don't know. I made a lot of clients that way. I'm lucky that now most of my business is repeat business, and I really like those.
It's fortunate to get to that point. I only remember one of your dogs, and I believe it's your current, who is unique.
Very.
And as if your life wasn't challenging enough, please tell us about your Great Dane.
So I have a Great Dane that I got when she was about 1.5 years old, and she had never been inside of a house. What makes her extra unique is she's albino, and she was born fully deaf and mostly blind. She has no pupils. And so she's all white with like pink edges, and she's the worst dog I've ever had. But I love her immensely. She gets a lot of attention when you take her out in public because she's huge and she's all white. So people are very confused as to what she is. But I'm her service human. You know how they have service dogs for humans? Like, literally, I'm her service human. I'm her security blanket. When I'm at home, she's never more than a foot away from me. I get up to walk and go get a glass of water. She cannot stay still. She has to follow me to go get a glass of water. It's like she can sense when I'm too far away from her.
And she can feel kind of that closeness and that comfort when you're there.
Yeah, we just did a road trip with both of my kids and both of my dogs, a 5-hour road trip. It was so much fun. And I say that not being serious. It was very stressful, to put it mildly, but at the same time, I'm really thankful for the time that I was able to spend with everybody.
So we've talked about your role as a mom. We've talked about your upbringing as a businesswoman and a child around business. We've talked about your real estate business. We've talked about your association involvement, but you have tremendous passions outside of that. You mentioned about fostering dogs. Give me, what are your passion organizations that you, no matter what, you're going to find time to help?
Now, I will be honest that the majority of my volunteer time really does go towards the association, but I'm lucky that our local association gives us a platform that we can volunteer, like Habitat for Humanity that I did last week, and Paint Your Heart Out and so many other things. But I did sit on the board for a Second Chance Rescue, which is an amazing rescue based out of Royal Palm Beach, and they've saved over 20,000 dogs probably at this point, dogs and cats. And so I used to give them more of my time than I do now, and I wish that I had a little bit more time, but I also have to be realistic that I used to be married and have somebody to help with things, and now I'm doing the majority of it by myself, so it's not as much time. I also am pretty heavily involved in the Kiwanis Club, which a lot of people have no idea what Kiwanis Club is, but it starts... It starts out as Key Club, so some people may have heard Key Club for their children in school. But the Kiwanis Club is a community involvement, and so I did sit as their vice president until the pandemic hit, and then I did take a step back. But I'm just really getting my life back, to be completely honest. Like, I was able to keep my work life going, but cancer kind of knocked me down for a little while.
Yeah,
so.
But if I know Leslie Suarez, nothing can keep you down too long.
No, not at all. I did the bed rest that I was required to do, and then other than that, I've been running again.
And you're even going down the pathway now of investing in real estate yourself.
Yes.
Right? Doing the Airbnb stuff, vacation rentals. How's your experience been with that so far?
I love it because I grew up in a hotel, and it brings back like the memories of my dad like punishing us and cleaning hotel rooms. So
your kids are the maid service?
No, unfortunately, I'm still the maid service now. I have a great team of people that do help me depending on where the property is. But I'm fortunate that I'm in an awesome relationship now where he had never invested in real estate until he started dating a realtor. And so we've done some really great investments together that are all really productive. And so it's just about analyzing things. I'm very, very analytical. Like they say a carpenter has to measure twice and cut once. That's, for me, the way that I am in real estate, is that I overcalculate so that when I do pull the trigger, it's a really good investment. And so we've had a lot of good success. I will say the hardest thing about Airbnb is the local laws, because they are constantly changing, and ordinances that are put in place that make Airbnb properties a little bit harder to attain.
And they're popping up and changing everywhere.
Always. And when they change, it really does affect the people that already have an Airbnb in that area. So sometimes you can be grandfathered in, but sometimes it just is a huge headache. And so I recently turned one of our Airbnbs into a long-term investment, but praise the Lord, because we got a huge monthly income on that property that pretty much beats what we were making on Airbnb.
Nice.
So that was very fortunate.
Nice. Life just always seems to work out.
Yes. If you keep trying. If you just sit on your laurels, it's not going to work so well for you. But
so what I would like to say here is, no matter what life throws at you, there's always a way to overcome it. There's always a way to overcome it. If you keep that positive mindset and keep pushing forward with little steps of progress, you'll make it to the end, you'll push through, and life will be a success for you. And that's no bull. Thanks for coming, Leslie.